The 10 most significant education studies of 2021. This is Araniel Evangeline, your reporter.
Table of Contents. First, what parents fear. Second, the secret management techniques. Third, the surprising power of pre-testing. Fourth, confronting an old myth. Fifth, a good school. Sixth, teaching is learning. 7. Disturbing strain. 8. Paper versus digital. 9. New research. 10. Tracking a tumultuous year. Number 1. What parents fear about SEL and how they change their minds. When the researchers at the Fordham Institute asked parents to rank phrases associated with social and emotional learning, nothing seemed to add up. The term social emotional learning was very unpopular. Parents wanted to steer their kids clear of it. But when the researchers added a simple clause forming a new phrase, social, emotional, and academic learning, the program shot all the way up to number 2 in the rankings. Parents are picking up subtle cues in the list of SEL-related terms that irks or worry them. The researchers suggest phrases like soft skills and growth mindset felt nebulous and devoid of academic content. For some, the language felt suspiciously like code of liberal indoctrination. But studies suggest that parents might need the simplest of reassurances to break through the political noise. Removing the jargon, focusing on productive phrases like life skills, and relentlessly connecting SEL to academic progress puts parents at ease and seems to save social and emotional learning in the process. Number 2. The secret management techniques of expert teachers. In the hands of experienced teachers, classroom management can seem almost invisible. Subtle techniques are quietly at work behind the scenes, with students falling into orderly routines and engaging in rigorous academic tasks almost as if by magic. That's no accident according to new research. While outbursts are inevitable in school settings, expert teachers see their classroom with proactive, relationship-building strategies that often prevent misbehavior before it erupts. They also approach discipline more holistically than their less experienced counterparts, consistently reframing misbehavior in the broader context of how lessons can be more engaging or how clearly they communicate expectations. Focusing on the underlying dynamics of classroom behavior and not on surface-level disruptions means that expert teachers often look the other way at all the right times too, rather than the rise to the bait of a minor breach in etiquette, a common mistake of new research. They tend to play the long game, asking questions about the origins of misbehavior, deftly navigating the terrain between discipline and students' autonomy, and opting to confront misconduct privately when possible. Number 3. The surprising power of pre-testing. Asking students to take a practice test before they've even encountered the material may seem like a waste of time. After all, they'd just be guessing. But new research concludes that the approach called pre-testing. Pre-testing is actually more effective than other typical study strategies. Surprisingly, pre-testing even beat out taking practice tests after learning the material, a proven strategy endorsed by cognitive scientists and educators alike. In the study, students who took a practice test before learning the material outperformed their peers who studied more traditionally by 49% on a follow-up test, while outperforming studies who took practice tests after studying the material by 27%. The researchers hypothesized that the generation of errors was a key to the strategy's success, spurring students' curiosity and priming them to search for the correct answers when they finally explore the new material, and adding grease to the 2018 studies that found that making educated guesses helps students connect background knowledge to new material. Learning is more durable when students do the hard work of correcting misconceptions. The research suggests reminding us yet again that being wrong is an important milestone on the road to being right. Confronting an old myth about immigrant students. Immigrant students are sometimes portrayed as a costly expense to the education system, but new research is systematically dismantling that myth. In a 2021 study, researchers analyzed over 1.3 million academic and birth records for students in Florida communities and concluded that the presence of immigrant students actually has a positive effect on the academic achievements of US-born students, raising test scores as the size of immigrant school population increases. The benefits were especially powerful for low-income students. While immigrants initially face challenges in assimilation that may require additional school resources, the researchers concluded hard work and resilience may allow them to excel and thus positively affect exposed US-born students' attitudes and behavior. But according to teacher Larry Ferlazzo, the improvements might stem from the fact that having English language learners in classes improves pedagogy, pushing teachers to consider issues like prior knowledge, scaffolding, and maximizing accessibility. Number 5. A fuller picture of what a good school is. To rethink our definition of what a good school is, researchers assert in a study published in late 2020. That's because typical measures of school quality like test scores often provide an incomplete and misleading picture, the researchers found. The study looked at over 159 grade students who attended Chicago public schools and concluded that emphasizing the social and emotional dimensions of learning, relationship building, a sense of belonging, and resilience, for example, improves high school graduation and college matriculation rates for both high and low-income students, beating out schools that focus primarily on improving test scores. Schools that promote socio-emotional development actually have a really big positive impact on kids, said lead researcher C. Kirabo Jackson in an interview with Edutopia. And these impacts are particularly large for vulnerable students population who don't tend to do very well in education system. The findings reinforce the importance of a holistic approach to measuring students' progress and are a reminder that schools and teachers can influence students in ways that are difficult to measure and may ultimately materialize well into the future. 6. Teaching is learning. One of the best ways to learn a concept is to teach it to someone else. But do you actually have to step into the shoes of a teacher, or does the mere expectation of teaching do the trick? In a 2021 study, researchers split students into two groups and gave them each science passage about the Doppler effect, a phenomenon associated with sound and light waves that explain the gradual change in tone and pitch as a car races off into the distance, for example. One group studied the text as a preparation for a test. The other was told that they'd be teaching the material to another student. The researchers never carried out the second half of the activity. Students read these passages but never taught the lessons. All of the participants were tested on their factual recall of the Doppler effect and their ability to draw deeper conclusions from the reading. The upshot? Students who prepared to teach outperformed their counterparts in both duration and depth of learning, scoring 9% higher of the factual recall a week after the lessons concluded, and 24% higher in their ability to make inferences. The researchers suggest that asking students to prepare to teach something or encouraging them to think, could I teach this to someone else, can significantly alter their learning trajectories. Number 7. A Disturbing Strain of Bias Kids book. Using artificial intelligence, researchers combed through 1,130 children's books written in the last century. Comparing two sets of diverse children's books, one a collection of popular books that garnered major literary awards, the other favored by identity-based awards. The software analyzed data on skin tone, race, age, and gender. Among the findings, while more characters with darker skin color begin to appear over time, the most popular books, those most frequently checked out of libraries and lining classroom bookshelves, continue to depict people of color in lighter skin tones. More insidiously, when adult characters are moral or upstanding, their skin color tends to appear lighter. The study leads author Anjali Aduki told the 7-4, with some books converting Martin Luther King Jr.'s chocolate complexion to the light brown or beige. Female characters, meanwhile, are often seen but not heard. Cultural representation are a reflection of our values. The researchers conclude, inequality in representation therefore constitute an explicit statement of inequality value. Number 8. The never-ending paper versus digital war. Argument goes like this. Digital screen turns reading into a cold and impersonal task. They're good for information foraging and not much more. Real books, meanwhile, have a heft and tactility that make them intimate, enchanting, and irreplaceable. But researchers have often found weak or equivocal evidence for the superiority of reading on paper. While a recent study concluded that paper books yielded better comprehension than e-books when many of digital tools have removed, the effect sizes were small. A 2021 meta-analysis further muddies the water. When digital and paper books are mostly similar, kids comprehend the print version more readily, but when enhancement like motion and sound target the story content, ebooks generally have the edge. Nostalgia is a force that every new technology must eventually confront. There's a plenty of evidence that writing with pen and paper encodes learning more deeply than typing, but new digital book formats come preloaded with powerful tools that allow readers to annotate, look up words, answer embedded questions, and share their thinking with other readers. We may not be ready to admit it, but these are precisely the kinds of activities that drive deeper and engagement, enhance comprehensions, and leave us the lasting memory of what we've read. The future of e-reading, despite the naysayers, remains promising. Number 9. New research makes a powerful case for PBL. Many classrooms today still look like they did 100 years ago, when students were preparing for factory jobs, but the world's moved on. Modern careers demand a more sophisticated set of skills, collaboration, advanced problem solving, and creativity, for example, and those that can be difficult to teach in classrooms that rarely give students the time and space to develop those competencies. Project-based learning, or PBL, would seem like an ideal solution, but critics say PBL places too much responsibility on novice learners, ignoring the evidence and about effectiveness of direct instruction and ultimately undermining subject fluency. Advocates counter that student-centered learning and direct instruction can and should coexist in classrooms. Now, 2 new large-scale studies encompassing over 6,000 students in 114 diverse schools across the nation provide evidence that a well-structured, project-based approach boosts learning for a wide range of students. In studies which are funded by Lucas Education Research, a sister division of Edutopia, elementary and high school students engage in challenging projects that had them designing water systems for local farms or creating toys using simple household objects to learn about gravity, friction, and force. Subsequent testing revealed notable learning gains well above those experienced by students in traditional classrooms, and those gains seem to raise all boats persisting across socioeconomic class, race, and reading levels. Number 10. Tracking a tumultuous year for teachers. The COVID-19 pandemic cast a long shadow over the lives of educators in 2021, according to a year's worth of research. The average teacher's workload suddenly spiked last spring, wrote the Center for Reinventing Public Education in its January 2021 report, and then, in defiance of the laws of motion, simply never let up. By the fall, a RAND study recorded an astonishing shift in work habits. 24% of teachers reported that they were working 56 hours or more per week, compared to a 5% pre-pandemic. The vaccine was a promised land, but when it arrived, nothing seemed to change. In an April 2021 survey conducted 4 months after the first vaccine was administered in New York City, 92% of teachers said their jobs were more stressful than prior to the pandemic, up from 81% in an earlier survey. New and ever-increasing demands of tech solutions put teachers on knife's edge. In several important studies, researchers concluded that teachers were being pushed to adopt new technologies without the resources and equipment necessary for its correct didactic use. Consequently, they were spending more than 20 hours a week adapting lessons for online use and experiencing an unprecedented erosion of boundaries between their work and home's life, leading to unsustainable always-on mentality. When it seemed like nothing more could be piled on, when all of the lights were blinking red, the federal government restarted standardized testing. Change will be hard. Many of the pathologies that exist in the system now predate the pandemic, but creating strict school policies that separates from work from rest, eliminating the adoption of new tech tools with their proper supports, distributing surveys regularly to gauge teacher well-being, and above all listening to educators to identify and confront emerging problems might be a good place to start if the research can be believed. Here is the references embedded in this topic. That is all. Thank you.